What's going on, everybody? This is Lady Luck here again. Thank you all so much for tuning in. So, as you guys can see, I'm going to be covering the two videos, one put out by Maryann Lorient that I covered in a live stream, but because of the length of the live stream, and plus we had one of another fantastic content creator, Johnny Walker Dread, that was on the show. I wanted to do a recap of that video in this um, video here, along with Lenae's complaint that was filed against the Prince of Pancrust Pizza, Umar Johnson, who has to learn everything the hard way, apparently. As you guys can see, the thumbnail, I pretty much said this has to stop. The doxing he has done, the frivolous lawsuits and complaints he's filed to the courts, his ducking of service from the court, the fact that he still is not allowing his mother to have time with her other children. He's being petty and vindictive and retaliatory. I mean, it's getting dangerous. It's getting dangerous. So at the end, I'm going to show some federal laws regarding the harassment component and some information, just related to how if you are going to file for a restraint or protection order, some of the things that you might want to, kind of make sure you have in order and your exhibits, your documentation, and be aware of, what you can look forward to when you go to court. So let's get started on this. Make sure you guys are hitting that like button. It keeps the videos in the algorithm because, YouTube's algorithm is ridiculous, but it's there. And of course, consider becoming a member and subscribe to the Lady Luck Club. The goal for this month is to hit 30,000 supporters, and I cannot do it without you all's help. So make sure you're sharing the content as well. You can post it on your Instagram, Twitter, X, TikToks. I don't care. Just post out the information because I try to provide some, informative information that can be researched that can help you all in any scenario, regardless of who the person is. So let's get started on this. We're gonna check out Maryann Lorient's video first because her video, she has a full, I think, 30-minute, almost 30-minute video on her channel. But um on the lounge channel, that's where I'm pulling this from. It's truncated down a little bit to about 9 minutes. So make sure you guys go and show some love to the lounge as well as Maryann Lorient's channel and give it a thumbs up. And I'm already subscribed, so if you guys enjoy the content there in the lounge, go ahead and subscribe. Let's build up that YouTube community where we can, help spread the information. That's what it comes down to, and it's what's most important: sharing that information, that knowledge, other, so that the public can get that information out. I'm a little tongue tied, so forgive me for that. So let's get to it. We're gonna check out Maryann, and then we're gonna go to Lenae.
Um, Good morning. I look a little disheveled this morning, a little tired. I worked last night, third shift, and once I left work this morning, I went straight to the Avon police station. I wanted to get a restraint on Dr. Umar, but I wasn't successful to get a restraint on him, but um, I was able to file a report. So, you guys are probably saying, Maryann, what transpired where you're getting off work and you had to go to the police station instead of going home, um, after a 8-hour shift, regrouping, resting, and to get up and start the rest of your day. Well, let me tell you guys what transpired. As most of you know, I'm a new YouTube content creator. So the ball is rolling because we're in the process of making of Awaken. To show behind the scene the 3 days of hell that I had to endure to make Awaken a reality. And I salute everyone who was part of that project. That's probably one of the biggest challenge as a filmmaker I ever had. So I created. They have this thing where you can have members only um, channel well, members only um, on the channel, and they pay to get exclusive video. Like if you're not uh, a paying member, you don't have access to the video. So I said I gave Awaken for free. When we bring this new movie, everybody's paying for it. I'm not giving this one for free. So, and I'm constantly playing around with the channel, learning the different feature. So I set up a feature um, where you had level one and level two. And I said, level one will be like little exclusive thing, probably, you know, that's probably where I'll conduct my live chat. And then level two will be every time I have a feature film, I'm going to continue doing theatrical release. But when it got a notification, I got a member, a paying member. I'm like, paying member? I haven't even posted a video for members only. How I got a paying member? So as the content creator, you can see who your paying members are. Family, family. Lord and behold, I click and Umar is on my channel as a paying member. This Negro is doing the utmost. You hear me? The utmost. So I'm like, why? Why on earth do you want to be? He's not just a YouTube channel subscriber. He is a paying member on my channel. So I said, you know what? Enough is enough. When I get off here, I'm gonna go and get a restraining order.
So here's a couple things that I want to just kind of pause and point out. One of the things that she mentioned was that she was at the police station. When you're seeking to get a restraining order, that is typically done through a petition that you will file directly to the court. So I don't think she went to the right place to start. Going to the police station, you're going in to file a criminal complaint, but you have to still have some sort of justification and um, evidence or documentation to show that the harassment, if you're alleging that, rises to the occasion of being a criminal matter. A restraining order is a civil matter. It's a civil. The hearing would be a civil procedure, not a criminal procedure. So it's probably best if she at least she can contact an attorney, get a free consult maybe, and then ask some questions to make sure she's going to the right place to begin with. But in this scenario, I don't think that the police officers would have been able to do anything about it on their end. And the restraining order she's seeking, um if most of the harassment she alleges is done online, that's something that would not fall under the purview of the police department either way. Now, if he had, made a statement saying that I'm going to terminate your life, then, and she had that recorded from him, let's say he did it in a video, so he can't even deny that it's him. You can see him audibly hear him say, I'm going to terminate your life. That would go to the police station because that would be handled as a criminal matter. If we're talking about cyber harassment or cyber bullying or even cyber stalking, and you want a protection order, you have to file the petition to the court, but you need to have your evidence to show this is what this person is doing that constitutes or warrants the actual restraining order. Like I said, that would be a civil procedure, and I'm going to go over that in the end on how to file a restraining order. But that would have been, I guess if she would have reached out to someone in an email. I know I've extended the offer to for her to come on and interview here in the Lady Luck Club and speak with her, and she could share some of her thoughts and things. And I get it. She has a regular job. She has children. Like I know do as well, and many others. And the last thing you want to have to do is worry about the Prince of Pan Crust Pizza doing anything once you've already tried to, terminate any communication or relationship with that individual. So I think when she did the video about him calling and leaving the voicemail, you know, he could possibly be the person behind the profile, but That has to be something definitive. Um, Once they are becoming a paying member, you can block the person from your channel, but it doesn't take away the membership that they purchased. So, and then of course, if you do buy a membership, you can cancel it anytime. So you don't have to renew it. I would suggest right now, just for the time being, for her to block the profile and make sure that it is blocked from, if her kids have, accounts linked to her Google account for YouTube, I would block it for them as well. And that would at least keep him off the channel, or you won't be able to see his comments or any of his information. But he has the sycophant base, cult member like following. And who knows, it could have been one of the cult members, that created a profile and just put his name on it. So that's something that would have to be definitively, uh if you're saying that it's him. But we all know he has a history of doxing and harassment and making threats, because I just did a video on it that's premiering. So you guys make sure you check that out. He has a history of doing these things. I don't put it past him, but you want to just have concrete, evidence, and you want to make sure you have enough information, documentation when you do get the restraining or protection order, to where it would be warranted and the judge grants it for you. So, all right, let's get back to it, guys. I just wanted to put that out there for a minute.
On him. This man is calling me. Now he's a paying member on my channel. This is just too bizarre. So when I got to the station, they had me sit, and a sergeant came out, and he was like, "Hey, what's going on?" I said, "I want to have a restraining order on Umar Johnson," and I gave his government name, Jermaine Schumacher. And he's like, "Well, what's going on?" I said, I'm getting phone calls that I don't want phone call from him." And I said, "I can play, it's on my phone." He's like, "I play the message." I play the message. He's like, "Doesn't sound like he's threatening you." I said, "Yeah, but I don't want the phone call." He's like, "Okay, you don't want the phone call. This is someone you knew that you gave your number to. Block him." That's what we would suggest. If the phone call were threatened, but he's not threatening you.
I think the cop was absolutely wrong with that. I mean, to say he has to be threatening her, is not the only definition um, that falls under harassment. That's not the only thing that constitutes, something viable for a harassment claim. Eh, Police officers, aren't attorneys. They're law enforcement, but they're not attorneys. Most of them will not go to law school, and they won't have a law degree. And it's rare that I've come across a police officer that's an actual lawyer, at the very least, if not a bar licensed attorney. So, what they perceive to know is the law, it might be very limited, based on how they handle the situation. But like I said, that wasn't the first, that was not the correct place for her to go to get a restraining order. A restraining order is a petition that would go to court, directly to court. So for the police officer to be so nonchalant about it, as opposed to at least helping her, with some information and getting her to the right area, and then to say, well, you had this, you gave out this number, you had this relationship with this person in the past, that's irrelevant. Does that mean that you permit someone to continue to call and communicate with you when you told them to stop? That that has nothing to do with it. You could have a person for 10 years. If they do something that, becomes gets to a point where you want to cut communication from them and you want to remove yourself out the equation, and then they continue to persist and become, you know, harassing, and knowing their history of doing this, especially if they have a history of doing that when it comes to women. Can't sit here and say, "Oh, well, you've talked to that person for 10 years." Okay, and this is what's happening now. So I'm trying to remove myself out this equation and cut this person out my life because I'm not going to tolerate the behavior. You mean to tell me that should be overlooked simply because she gave him his number? For a business matter, really, it was for him to be in a film he was not originally planned to be in. She didn't originally write the script for him to play himself in that role. She had a selected actor that was going to play the role. He wanted to play himself in this film. So he inserted himself into this movie, And then he still walked away, had even went so far as to try to file a lawsuit against her for $500,000 to get rights to the film. And when he realized that wasn't happening, they tried to you know, almost bully her and intimidate her into giving up the rights to a mediation. What? The, no one's going to take that slap suit seriously. So this is all the stuff that she's endured, and she's saying, "I'm going to do a documentary on it," and I hope she does. I hope she puts out the videos. But I wouldn't say anything else about it. I would handle it through the legal process, take it to the court. I would not, uh, you know, put out any videos saying anything about having any dirt on anyone. That's not necessary if you're going to go to the courts. Just go file your documents, get your, you know, exhibits and your information in place, and go to court and let that be handled that way, and get whatever you need as far as protection so that you can defend yourself. But I certainly would not say anything in videos to give him ammunition or a defense either. So, I would just be wise and move smart about how I handle something like that. If I know I got to go to court to try to get some sort of legal recourse, some sort of legal resolution on matters like this, because you don't want to give him anything to weaponize and turn around and try to sit here and get sympathy over, and then next thing you know, it nullifies your complaint and your concern that you have of what he's doing. But he has a history of doing dumb shit like harassment and bullying and doxing, which is illegal. He has a history of this. So it's not hard to believe. She just needs to make sure she goes to the right place and have all of her documents and information put together, and not discuss the case on social media. That is the last thing you want to do. All right, let's continue on.
He said, "Hey, you send me the voicemail." Okay. I said, "Well, I'm a YouTube creator, and he's on my channel. He's a paying member, and I don't even have an exclusive video for member." And they're like,
The
"It's
police can't do
YouTube.
anything about that.
He's paying member. He really hasn't done anything, nothing for YouTube to kick him out, and nothing as the law that's threatened to you. If you don't like it, remove him from your channel. You have that power to remove him from your channel." And I said, "Well, you know what? Him lurking around, it's becoming unnerving for me. I don't like it." And he's like, "Yeah, we understand that, but he's not breaking the law." He's like, "But what I can do for you, you're allowed to make a..."
Yeah. So that's the end of that video for Maryann. I'm gonna go on over to the next
First, let
video.
me back up and give you the story.
This is of course Lenae. She is fantastic. Um and absolutely enjoyed the conversation she was able to have with us last week Sunday here in the LLC. So you guys make sure you check out the live stream where she came up and graced us with her presence and had an interview and just kind of went over her experiences with pan crust pizza and all the things that he put her through. He's doxed her as well. So like I said, he has a pattern of behavior of doing this, and it's just got to come to an end, because he doesn't care that he's putting people's lives and safety in danger. And he has a sycophant cult base that more than likely, when it came to Maryann, it could have been one of his little followers or whatever doing something like that. And let's not forget, cyber stalking is illegal. It's a part of harassment. It is very illegal. And the digital footprints that they leave behind can be used to track their movement. So that's why it doesn't behoove anyone to follow people from video to video, reading comment sections, or following them all over YouTube. You're leaving digital footprints, and that can be used against you in a court of law as evidence, because that is being tracked and is stored to a server that you cannot delete or erase. So that's how that works. But let's get to Lenae so she can share her story and her complaint.
Let me back up and give you the story. Tell you what happened. So Umar Johnson started talking to a fake woman. A man and his wife on the East Coast decided to hit him up and pretend to be a woman. He asked for photos. They sent photos. He never met this person in real life. Never met the person in real life. So they're chit chatting, and by this time, fast forward, by this time, I have come out. Once I come out, they ask him about me. He decides to send them my address,
What?
my addresses, um, and that he thought were real, and my phone numbers. Phone numbers
Jesus.
were one work phone, one personal phone. And they reach out to me and tell me what happened. So then we start watching his page. His page, someone put a comment, and I screenshot the comment and the people that liked it. And the comment was, "She better stand on business when we come to the door." Something to that effect.
Oh.
But it's on my page. You can look at it. It's threatening. Um, so then they have a page that Umar follows and some other people follow. Got all of that together. On the page, they're posting stuff about me, posting up stuff, post up my daughter, post up
That's
whatever
so
they can find.
dangerous. That's
Now, this is somebody
dangerous.
that's obsessed about him, bitter and scorn. But he
Okay, this she said posted up a daughter, which is I would assume a minor child. What delight could a grown man take in having her children posted up? He's a deadbeat father. He doesn't care what happens with his own children. But does that mean he gets the right to put her children in harm's way? You got to think about how sick and depraved and disgusting that is to post up pictures of minor children. That's exploitation of minor children. Something that any law enforcement agency would take very seriously. Umar Johnson, you're an idiot. They would take that very seriously. They take that more seriously than they would of the idea of her address being given out. They'll take the issue with the children. Oh, yeah, no. They will take that seriously in a heartbeat. So, what would be the purpose of someone getting pictures of her minor children, of her daughter, and posting that up? That is so sick and disgusting. You got sickos out here that would, that are registered sex offenders that would go out and harm children. Like, why would you do that? Umar, you're disgusting.
doesn't know any of my real information. And those that know me know that he doesn't know what he's talking about. So they're looking for my work address, work supervisor, can't understand certain, just like certain things that most people that know me know. Um, and not only that, they make some proclamations. They're like, "Oh, she's only got what is she said something to the effect." They're constantly following my pages, but some things that we took care of before I came out, they're the ones that are regurgitating. So they're like, "Oh, she's got 3 kids, Dad. She's what's the other one? Oh, I only made a certain amount of money per year." They went on open payrolls and like really trying to dig into.
That's called doxing. When you're releasing personal identifiable information, that would include work details and location, her work number, her email, her payroll. You talking about her addresses, her home number or her personal cell number, a photo of her daughter. That's a whole nother crime in and of itself, by the way. That's a whole nother crime in and of itself. If I were her, I would do that as an FBI complaint with the child because they'll get to that faster than anything. They will take that seriously, especially if you can show that someone found this information. And like I said, when you're cyber stalking, you're leaving digital footprints. Digital footprints. Once again, digital footprints. Don't think that the FBI cannot track those digital footprints and find out who you are, where you live, the IP address, and any other information they need to track your behind down and to catch your ass for posting up photos of a minor child. I would not let that just roll off somebody like that would not roll off a shoulder. No, I'm taking that one seriously. Just like, sitting here attacking, verbally attacking a minor child, calling them names and making false statements. You're doing this against a minor child. That's a whole different realm. It's disgusting.
And find me. So I never
That's
corrected anything,
disgusting.
not even the addresses. The problem is the threat. And then we have the issue of him being so negligent with my information. I have a minor child that does live with me.
Right.
That is correct. But my stuff is just passed off. And not only that, I have a lot of his personal information too. But I never passed it. Never. So rope is.
Civilized individuals don't need to do that. On average, people don't just sit and dox other people because they don't like them. Because you never know what could come out of that. He might not do anything directly to her daughter, but what if one of his followers do? And they're doing it in his name. He could still be held culpable and liable because he's the one that put it out there. He's the one directing his cult base to do this nonsense. See what happens when you follow orders without thinking and using a brain, cult members? And then you all get hemmed up. They might be able to get him as a co-conspirator, the one that led the charge on it. But you're the one that's really taking the downfall because you completed the action. Is it worth your liberty and freedom for someone that does not pay your bills? That's my question. Umar Johnson is not paying these people's bills. He wouldn't give them any money if their life depended on it because he's always begging for money himself. This is extraordinarily dangerous.
Given, I would just say with everything that we witnessed, yesterday, for people to be a lot more thoughtful before they get involved with things. And don't trust Google, because Google will tell you something's not against the law, but when it's coupled with other things, you might be in some serious trouble. So what I did is I decided to protect myself, and I made a report.
Good for you.
He now also has in Ohio another woman that went and made a report.
Good.
So I'm thankful for this being seen, that it's not only from someone that had a personal situation with him, because there are people that cannot shake the fact. I tell them this has nothing to do with bitter or scorn. This has everything to do with who he is. But seeing him being in these situations with other people that there was not anything personal, it doesn't dawn on them that, okay, maybe this might be this person's mentality. I don't know. This is people in different states trying to put in these reports. That's not a good look. And I know about how mine is. I know how that was taken. It was taken more serious than I even thought it was. Oh, yeah. After the Charlie Kirk situation, and you know firsthand what could happen,
absolutely,
and you decide to do this anyway.
Yep.
And
anything involving minor children will be taken seriously. If they're posting up pictures and stuff of her minor daughter, like I said, that exploitation gets many years in prison. You can get many years in prison. They don't play about that. That is just how stupid this whole hive cult mentality is. It's you're willing to put yourself at risk. Don't think that the FBI can't catch you either. They use those digital footprints. And you have no idea how they might be able to find you, but they have their ways. That's why it's not worth it. Umar can just be mad. Let him throw a man baby tantrum, in the candy aisle. Step over his fat ass and keep walking and keep living. Let him flail out and wild out. But don't sit here and do his bidding for him. Because when it comes down to taking the fall, he's going to forget he ever even met you. He's not going to remember taking that phone call with that young man in the other video I did. He's talking about, I'm going to give you Lynn. He was referring to Lennon Honor. Giving you his address. You go roll up on him. Yeah, okay. Then he'll forget that he ever met you when it comes down to it. And you get caught up. It's insane.
Boundaries are the reason why we're here. It's not about bitter or being scorned. It's about boundaries. Not respecting people's personal boundaries. Not respecting people's privacy. But wanting your privacy upheld is the reason why we are here. It has nothing to do with anything else. other than that. But you got to think, some people want things to look like it's just them. That, people just can't get away from them. No, that's not the
Yeah.
case. But I'm gonna
No.
keep y'all posted because this is a long way from over. I'm gonna repost the screenshots that the person sent me. Investigation is already being done. There are people that are trying to come and say, "Oh, you set them up." No, I didn't know this person. This person also agreed to do an affidavit. So
There
I
you
didn't know
go.
this person. They didn't know me. But once they saw the severity of it, they decided to be a human being, and I appreciate that. But it's not looking
And the
good.
minor
All
children
right.
thing is so this is also from the lounge um channel. I make sure I gave a thumbs up. I just want to go over this information right quick on how to do the and I thank you guys for tuning in. I try not to have these videos be too long, but I think sometimes it's just necessary to get some of this information out so that people can just kind of understand, especially if you're having to do this as a pro se litigant. When you're filing restraining order, petition for restraining order, make sure you gather necessary documentation, complete the required forms, and submit them to your local court or law enforcement agency. And for the petition, I would just go to the courts if you have your exhibits and your documentation with you, because Maryann Lorient went to the police station, and look how the police officers handle that matter. They're not attorneys, they're not judges. They just going on what they perceive to the best of their knowledge, but they didn't cite not one law either. So I wouldn't even go to the police station. Now, law enforcement agency, if like an investigative unit like the FBI, yeah, or Department of Homeland Security, or it depends on what it's relating to. You know, get the appropriate agency that you will have to file this information with. But for the most part, you're seeking an order that will come from the court. So the best bet would be to go to court. Determine the type of restraining order. You have different types of restraining orders, such as those for domestic violence, stalking, or harassment. So you need to identify which one applies to your situation. And then you have sources here that are linked. You guys go on the websites. I just did a Google search here. Gather the necessary documentation, collect your evidence that supports your case, such as police reports, medical records, witness statements. Like Lenae just mentioned, she's got a witness statement affidavit. So that's going to help her case. This documentation will establish the need for restraining the order, for the restraining order. Complete the required forms. Once you obtain the necessary forms for your local courthouse or online through your state court's website, fill out the petition. Carefully provided detailed information about the incidents that led you to seek the order. And you have some additional sources here. I would go on websites that are like law firms or directly from any, um, court website, or um, I utilize the Cornell Law um, website often to help. And then, of course, you can always look at your state's um, statute codes, and that will give you the legal definition of like cyber harassment or stalking. And you can, know what to do from there and how to put your case together. So once you get the information, got the required forms, you submit the petition to the appropriate court. The court needs to be within your jurisdiction. So based on where you live, you can look up the county that you're in and what court would fall within that jurisdiction. So that meaning appropriate court would be the proper court that will have jurisdiction over the matter based on where you reside. You may also be able to fill out a file online. So there's always an option to e-file and e-serve. Be prepared to pay any associated filing fees, although waivers may be available for those in financial need. Of course, you get a hearing for protection orders. The first hearing you can do as ex parte, then you get a court date, and then you can have the defendant served. In some states, the clerk of the court can serve over the phone and give them the court date from there. Because if you're seeking a protection order, the idea is for you not to have to communicate with the person or for them to communicate with you. So after a court hearing, after filing court hearings are scheduled, you will need to present your case to a judge, including any evidence and witnesses that support your request for a restraining order. The respondent, which is also the defendant that you're filing the petition against, will also have the opportunity to present their side, and then you get the court's decision. So the petition could be denied, it could be granted. If it's granted, you'll get an order that will outline all the restrictions in place. So if you have any questions, that will be the opportunity to, fine tune to the judge exactly the addresses that you want to, have this person restrained from. Um, I mean, it's difficult when it comes to online harassment, simply because what if Umar gets multiple dummy accounts on YouTube, and now he's just following everybody through these dummy accounts? You have no way of knowing it's actually him. But if it gets to a point where you're experiencing this pattern of behavior with the harassment, and you do feel like they're doing a bit of, cyber stalking, you know, I would block those profiles, get screenshots of the comments, screenshots of their, if they're leaving comments in other people's chats and live streams and whatnot, record it, screenshot it, and then, collect your evidence. And then from there, you can say, okay, here's like a good week or two worth of just flat out cyber harassment here. That's beyond, just normal free speech. It goes beyond that. And anytime you're not sure, I would consult with an attorney. All right. That's the best way to go with that. Because I'm not an attorney. I don't even want to go to law school. I'm just going to be honest. So once you get the order, if it's granted, then it will be an enforceable action. So if they violate the restraining order, you can always motion for a to have them held to contempt. So it would be like a petition for contempt action that you will have to file. If you are pro se, if you have an attorney, they'll know exactly what to do. If it is denied, you may have the option to request a hearing for a temporary order until a final decision is made. All right. So, and of course, you need legal assistance. Get an attorney if you can't afford one. Just try to get you, a couple free consults. Have your, questions put together. Because a lot of times when you're doing those free consults, those attorneys do not like to give out free legal advice because they don't want to give the appearance that they're representing you. They just want to give you general information to kind of guide you through it. But definitely try to take advantage of those free consults because they do help. And here is the USC, the United States Code on stalking and harassment law. So 18 USC 2261 A is an apple here kind of gives you a breakdown on this website. And I know I'm kind of going through a little quick, but you guys can check this out on legalclarity.org. This is the USC code for federal stalking and harassments. So I'm going to scroll down a bit and get to this here, the required interstate element. Now, in the previous video that I did covering the actual videos of the Prince of Pan Crust Pizza sicking, his sycophants out on people, giving out addresses and videos because he's an idiot, I spoke about interstate activity, right? So that this is what this is referring to here. This required interstate element is for federal jurisdiction to apply. The government must establish an interstate nexus in the alleged stalking or harassment. This means the conduct must involve, here it is, travel across state lines or the use of a facility of interstate commerce such as telephones, mail, or the internet. So that component allows the federal jurisdiction to fall under a federal agency such as the FBI or Department of Homeland Security. It has to either involve traveling across state lines or the use of the internet, phone, like if you're getting text messages and phone calls. Most people don't mail anything, but let's say you get something mailed to you. That all would fall under this interstate nexus element that is required for it to become a jurisdiction of the federal government or the federal agency. So if you file a complaint with the FBI, you need to have evidence and proof that there was some use of the interstate commerce, such as the internet. And social media requires the internet to utilize. All right. So this requirement distinguishes federal stalking laws from state statutes, which is different. So you can look at state laws regarding harassment and bullying, stalking, but if you cannot pinpoint this that it occurred in the state and you believe, if especially if it's internet, right? Just automatic based on the requirement. If it's on cyber anything, if it's dealing with electronic communications, that is automatically for the federal, that will fall under the federal jurisdiction. Automatically. It's right here. I'm reading the information to you. So that is the requirement for that to the requirement for the federal jurisdiction to kick in. That is involving the internet, and that would apply regardless of state boundaries. So they have here case law. Courts have interpreted the interstate requirement broadly in U.S. v. Bowker. The Sixth Circuit upheld a conviction where the defendant made threatening phone calls across state lines. Similarly, using the internet considered a channel. Here we go. Using the internet considered a channel of interstate commerce can trigger federal jurisdiction. Boom, shakalaka. So, all the times that I've been saying, because me personally, I'm just not big on repeating myself, but I've said this previously about another wannabe cult leader that has these sycophants all on the internet doing the most, leaving digital footprints, not thinking about their liberty and freedom at all. But no one should be telling you or intimidating you out of filing an FBI complaint when the FBI would have automatic jurisdiction if it is involving the internet. You guys see it right here. Using the internet considered a channel of interstate commerce can trigger federal jurisdiction. So if you're not aware of what the FBI, as far as what they investigate, what their purview or jurisdiction is, you can always go on the FBI website and it outlines what would fall under their purview or their jurisdiction. Filing an FBI complaint for cyber harassment or cyberbullying, cyber stalking, doxing would fall under federal jurisdiction. So it is not wrong to file an FBI complaint, because you can't say that it occurred in the state if it's done over the internet. And here's the case law to support it. United States versus Bowker. So I encourage you guys to look that case law up. This case law sets precedents. And you can read about that case, and it kind of gives you the elements on how this particular USC was interpreted in the Sixth Circuit Court. That's how that works. And that's something is, if people don't fully understand, then you find yourself having to face scrutiny because you decided to take legal recourse. But having the knowledge of where to go and what to do kind of helps. And one thing I said in the previous video regarding the doxing Umar does, because it's something that he's a fucking kid. He's a child in a big body. But you can't get upset because people are speaking the truth about you. They're speaking facts. It's how you respond to it. But his response to it is to try to shut people down. Well, then you're infringing upon free speech, because what are they saying that is provably false? If there's the evidence and documentation to show that this is accurate, then let's see how this goes out in court. But to have someone shut down to try to dox them because they're speaking, facts about you, it's absolutely deplorable. You chose to be a public figure. This is what comes with the territory. Grow up and grow a spine. Get a job, Umar. Get a job. So hopefully this information helps you all. I will have the link to this information in the description of the video. Like I said, I did not want this to be overly long. So I want to thank you all for tuning in and enduring the information here. Yeah, laws are boring, but we need to know them. And she who knows the law has the power. And I bless God I have it in human form. Yeah, this is, I promise you, my willingness to learn about the law is so that I can protect myself. And I encourage everyone to do that as well. We all don't have godmothers that are federal judges. I understand that, but I do. Thank God for it. But either way, this is just me researching some information so that you guys can be fully aware. And a whole intimidation tactic trying to demean and scorn people who are filing FBI complaints is absolutely absurd and stupid when the FBI would have jurisdiction over that matter either way because it's being done on the internet. All right? You guys can read it for yourself. And you got some case law to go on. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you hit that like button. I appreciate all of you. We're trying to hit a goal of 30,000 supporters by the end of September. And I'm by God wanting to hit that goal. And it will be a blessing to be able to end the year with at least 40,000 supporters. So each month, I'm aiming for 10,000, 10,000 at a time. We're just easing on up that mountain, you guys. And I cannot do this without you all. So hit the like button, subscribe, share the content, consider becoming a member, and check the description for our products that we are partnered with Dr. Squatch that you can purchase. You have to purchase the products that are tagged in the video. I do receive a commission for it and it goes back to the channel. So just complete transparency. There are expenses related to, creating this content. So any and every manner to which you guys, provide any support for the channel, it is greatly appreciated. I am humbled by it and I want to say thank you. And until the next video, Lady Luck Club out.